It is a sunny morning here in Spain for the penultimate event within the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup. The endurance season will finish also in Spain in a couple of weeks' time. This championship finishes 2 weeks after that in Zandvoort. So this weekend is very, very important indeed to, if you like, shape the way the championship is going to go to Holland. There are, of course, also the possibility of classes being wrapped up here. Overall could be won, gold and silver as well. That aside, we've got two excellent races to look forward to. Qualifying for the first is coming up. It is a damp circuit. Quite a lot of rain yesterday, a lot of rain overnight, but the road is drying all the time. David Anderson and John Watson trackside. John, it's a bit of a paperclip sort of circuit this. There's a lot crammed into a short amount of land.
Yes, 14 turns, 4 kilometres in length, just under 2.5 miles. And as you see on the tracker, it is pretty tight, that middle part of the section of the circuit corner 8-9, overtaking possibilities as we've seen in the past, but always involves a little bit of hip and shoulder to get the job done. And then the main straight out of 14 down into turn 1. It is a downhill straight. At the minute, entry into turn 1 looks pretty damp to me.
Turn 1's also had a bit of resurfacing, some new curbing put in as well, similar to the Misano curbs, and not surprisingly, the Valentino Rossi faithful are here nice and early to see the great man. Enrique Chavez then, the number 188, the Garage 59 McLaren. He has been one of the absolute stars of the Bronze Cup all season, sharing with Miguel Ramos in that Garage 59 McLaren. He's going to be a man to watch. It's only a 20-minute session, and it's one driver, of course, who will go out and do the time. But how they play this is going to be interesting, because really, looking at the track conditions, John, it's going to be, you want to be out right at the very end. That's when the track will be at its best.
Yes, usual story, last man standing. So the last car that comes across start-finish line after the checkered flag has gone out, in theory, should record the fastest time. But as ever, with a number of 40 cars on the circuit, it's going to be tight, and everybody knows that that's the best time to be on track. So I imagine the closing 5 minutes of this 20-minute session are going to be demanding. That's probably the understatement of the morning so far.
We've had one or two shuffles of driver. If you watch the Hockenheim races, you might remember the name of Maximilian Powell, who was with the family team. Well, he has returned, but with VSR, sharing with Yuki Nomoto. And the Jordan Pepper Front Pereira car has become Andrea Caldarelli and Marco Mappelli for this weekend, also being run out of the VSR stable. That's going to be well worth watching, no argument about that. There is the Misano winning BMW that Valentino Rossi will take out for this session, and therefore he will start today's race. The other driver, of course, doesn't do very much until midway through today's race. Then they have to leap into the car and be absolutely on the money straight away.
Yes, it's a bit of a big ask, but Valentino's in the car. I think he's still got a bit of sleep in his eyes, just looking into the car, into the helmet, as he prepares to go out for this 20-minute qualifying session. The track is partly damp, partly dry, but will dry relatively quickly. The ambient temperature currently is hovering around 20 Celsius, so warm enough to hopefully see a dry line appear, and then basically the racetrack dry out sufficiently to allow cars to maybe overtake if they need to do so in qualifying. Not necessarily ideal in qualifying, but that's an option that will have to be faced at the time.
And as ever, traffic management is going to be important. Right, the fast lane is open, so drivers can now, if they wish, make their way down to the end of the pit lane. And there, no doubt about who is one of the stars of the show. That mural was put there after he retired from motorbike racing with "Thank you, Valley" written on the wall. But he's back, and we saw him here last year. And of course, he's attracted a huge number of people.
Well, as my folks in Northern Ireland would say, "Your man." That's your man.
Well, he could be a race winner again by the end of the season. As you look there, the Alex Arca Lorenzo Patrese Audi out of the Silver Cup. Right, the session is live. The green flag has been shown. Not many takers, and I suspect this is going to be part of the story of the session, that somebody's going to be the first to blink, and then everybody takes an interest in what that car does, what it looks like around the circuit. But at the moment, all right, you get a banker lap in, but it is still pretty damp all the way around.
Well, just having said that, one of the JP Motorsport McLarens trundles down the pit lane. I suspect the reason why a number of people are hanging back is because you can see the damp conditions. So a time recorded in the next 3 or 4 minutes is going to be of no relevance whatsoever. But in the process, depending on which set of tyres you go out on, if it is a brand new set of tyres, you will not want to go out and do a number of laps in these conditions. You'll want to hold them back until the track is at its best to ensure you get the best out of that brand new set of tyres.
Okay, so more and more do venture down the pit lane because you can see the Riccardo Fella Audi going out. There's certainly no chance that the road is going to get wetter. The cloud is breaking. It's pretty sunny and pretty warm already, so I think the track will dry fairly swiftly. But as we've been making the point, you want to be out at the very end and effectively be the last driver across the line. That's when the track will be at its best. 31 gets away, which is the BMW from WRT, Jean-Baptiste Simonard and Thomas Neubauer, the drivers.
Yes, the reason we're talking about a damp track is not because there's a heavy dew or frost overnight, it's because there was monsoon-style rain here in Valencia. Not what you had hoped for, but certainly there was heavy, heavy rain on Friday. While teams did get to run and recorded, I think, reasonably representative times, the best lap was by Anajan Guven in the Porsche, Pure Racing Porsche 1:30.7. So that's going to be, if you like, the ballpark figure that people will be aspiring to, and hopefully they might even find a way of getting under that 1:30.7 if they have new tyres and the track is at its best once that dry line appears.
Now, more and more cars are venturing out, which is, you could argue, a better way of drying it. The more people that are out there, so they'll get rid of some of that water. There is Jordan Love once more sharing with Alain Valente, and Valentino Rossi is out on track as well. So at the end of the next lap, we'll start to see representative lap times being offered up and who's going to achieve what. Last year, remember, the rain on Sunday gave absolutely superb second race, but the forecast is dry all weekend, but we have had some really lively rounds in the championship here in the past.
So coming up into the final two corners, 13 and leads into 14. 13 is a very long curve, and then you reach turn 14, which is a much tighter, again slightly downhill, and a key corner here at Valencia, because here the quickest part of the circuit, the straight down into turn 1. So cars looking for the drier bits of the racetrack before they cut across to take their line to the entry into turn 1.
So flying lap now started, as there you've got Valentino Rossi tucked up behind Charles Weerts, number 32. And speed building, road drying times will start to come at the end of this. Remember that the triple champions, Weerts and Van Thor, are coming here without a win. Now, last year here, they won the championship. They haven't even had a race win this season. It's been a tough season, really, for the Sprint Cup dominators, switching from Audi to BMW. They've been there or thereabouts. They've been on the pace, but no wins. That's a car that's taken 2 wins, and Riccardo Fella at the wheel of it should put himself at the top of the times, although he's pretty enthusiastic to get on the curbs, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is. When he's got purple middle sector, we're seeing quite a number of purple times springing up in any of the 3 sectors here, of which one was actually for Charles Weerts, but that's now been superseded in sector 1 by Thomas Neubauer in another, the 31 BMW. So BMWs presently are, I want to say, in the top 8. There are 4 BMWs, but it's Riccardo Fella who has just got the fastest lap to date, 1:33.7.
So that's the target time. Sebastian Bode was behind him, but he's just had a lap taken off him for track limit violations. Nicholas Cruton now goes top. Now Charles Weerts goes top from Valentino Rossi. 6 tenths between them, but there's more to come. So Riccardo Fella's 1:33.7 eclipsed already Charles Weerts, 1:32.693. Raffaele Marcello is on track, having been quick yesterday in the free practice and then pre-qualifying sessions. But with the best part of 40 cars again, it's going to be very, very crowded once everybody's out on track.
Another car that's just on its out lap, but flying. Thierry Vermeulen in the Ferrari, Emile Frey Racing Ferrari 296, fastest overall sector 1. We saw that amazing race in Hockenheim with the 32 BMW and this car. No, that's the sister car. Coming into those final 2 turns on the final lap, and then of course Vermeulen was penalised for contact with the 32, caused a lot of controversy from the Emile Frey team. They thought that was fair racing. I think the WRT team, they were unhappy about it. They felt it was unfair, and the judgment came down in favour of WRT.
Christian Klein getting himself through the traffic. Alex Arca up to 2nd behind Charles Weerts now. And number 1, McLaren. Christian Klein currently in the top 6, looking good. Valentino Rossi, meantime, is 5th. Ricardo Feller goes fastest there, look, goes across the line. 1:32.544 from Dennis Marshall. Nicholas Crutzen goes fastest on a 32.005. Charles Weerts a 31.931. So as the road gets drier and quicker, Charles Weerts goes to the top. 1:31.9 now, John.
Yeah, it's not by the lap, it's by the car, literally. We're waiting to see when the 88 Mercedes will come through, to see what sort of kind of benchmark Marcello, who is yet to, well, having said that, he's just recorded a lap, he's gone quick, 9th quickest overall. Vermeulen still putting in those very quick first sector times. He is only 15th. So I would expect on this lap there is Vermeulen. So I'd expect that car to leap further up the standings. What we've got left, 13 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah, there's plenty of time left, isn't there? The road has got busy quite quickly, actually. More and more people have been tempted out early as Thierry Vermeulen backs out of the lap. He was looking good with 2 greens, 2 personal bests, but he's bailed. I was just wondering whether that was because he had... Yes, he has. He's been told about losing a lap for track limit offences, so there's no point hurting the tyres. He backs out of it and will go again. Over the line now goes Vermeulen. Charles Weerts has done an absolute best in the first sector. He's already the fastest, so Vermeulen tries once more. And this is Charles Weerts coming up towards the end of the lap then as he drops now over the brow. Down towards turn 14, that puts him on the pit straight. And Ricardo Feller has gone back to the top on a 1:31.6. And Charles Weerts breaks the beam and stays 3rd. Now, that was a slightly slower lap time, a 32.3.
So, it's all set again for another run. 20 minutes, session 12 minutes now remaining.
And look, he's just gone top. Valentino Rossi, 1:31.521 by 10th. Valet is quicker than anybody.
Well, that caught everybody, I think, slightly unawares because the 46 BMW had not been at the top so far, but he certainly has done it. But, well, that time has been deleted because already Ricardo Feller's been reinstated as being quickest overall, so I suspect that might have been a track limit.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, there's track limit warnings.
Yeah, cancellation of lap time, yeah. Right, so Valentino Rossi goes again and has done the absolute best in the first sector. But now, look, you can see just how crowded it is. Up to 3rd has gone Christopher Zöchling's Porsche. Getting out of the way there was the GSM AB1 GT3 Team Lamborghini that James Kell, British GT racer, shares with Jared Waberski, that we've seen racing in GB4, GB3 in the UK this year. Right, Christian Klein up to 2nd, so that McLaren going nicely. This is the fastest car you're riding with. Ricardo Feller's best lap is a 1:31.256 now to go even faster.
So Valentino Rossi, having had a lap deleted, has got fastest sector time in Sector 1, personal best Sector 2, and this is going to put the 46 back at the races. He is currently 22nd and waiting to see where he leaps up to 2nd effort. Yes, and that time now has been confirmed on timing and scoring, so that was a clean lap from Valentino Rossi. So it's BMW 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Now it's 3rd, 4th and 5th because Gilles Magnus in the 21 Audi, he has leapt up to join the fellow Audi of Feller on that provisional front row of the grid.
Yeah, Gilles Magnus, very, very quick young Belgian driver, and as you say, putting that car 2nd. It's one of the Gold Cup entries. Nicolai Schiergaard fastest now by 11 thousandths in the McLaren. So just like we saw Audis and McLarens go well at Hockenheim, so they are here. So Schiergaard, Feller, Magnus, Rossi, Crutzen, and then 6th now in the Boutsen VDS car is Cesar Gauzot. Jordan Love is 7th. No, he's not. He's 8th, who's just popped up. Caldarelli, Andrea Caldarelli has gone 6th now. First time we've really had calls to mention him during the course of the session, but having said he's gone 6th, he's had the lap time taken off him.
As soon as the time was posted, literally within 2 seconds, it's been deleted because of a track limit violation. And there are these new curbs around the Valencia circuit. There's part of the circuit that has also been resurfaced. So Ferrari has the quickest overall, 1:31.188.
That's Constant Alignment's time. This is Gilles Magnus, who could be on for the front row here because he's done a personal best, he's done an absolute best. Dennis Marshall has now gone to the top on a 1:31.163, and Gilles Magnus then down to 5th, but he's about to bounce back breaks the beam and goes quickest of all. Gilles Magnus to the top, into the 30s now, 1:30.886, quicker by 2/10.
Yes, and that's now within a tenth of a second of the quickest time we saw on Friday afternoon when conditions were better than they are now. The track is improving literally, not by the lap, but literally by the cars coming across the start-finish line, and we've more or less had 38 cars, certainly, yes, 39 cars. The car that was quickest yesterday, its last lap was 9 minutes and 46 seconds. So I'm assuming it's been in the pit lane for some time, and that's the National Gear, the Porsche.
Yeah.
And where has that gone? It's just gone up to fifth, literally, as I say, because it had only done one lap. It's now leapt up into fifth position on a 1:31.231.
There's only one car that hasn't yet done a time, and it is the Machiels dad and lad combination. Louis Machiels, normally with Andrea Bertolini, this weekend with his son Jeff, who we have seen race in the Spa 24 Hours. We've seen him race in Belgian endurance races, but Jeff Machiels stepping up to the plate this weekend. And Andrea Bertolini, you might remember, was involved in a accident at Hockenheim. So he's not here this weekend. Jeff Machiels takes over. Riding with Raffaele Marcello, he's gone second. He's rather crept up there, but a 1:30.968 puts him 82 thousandths down, although this lap is not going to be an improvement. As you can see, he's down in both sectors.
No, I think what Marcello has done is just wait, hang back, keep the freshest or the newest sets of tyres you've got till the end. Is he coming in? Yes, he is. So he's got 7.5 minutes remaining, and I just wonder what the Mercedes team will do, whether they've got another set of tyres they want to run. There's the car that was quickest yesterday, still in sixth position now. Marcello had leapt up into second, and Fred Verbies, the 12 Audi, he's up into fifth position.
Great noise from Aisha Guven's Porsche. Comes over the timing line. This is the pure racing entry. Guven 6th. 13th in the times is Jim Pla. Always welcome on track, and sharing the Mercedes from Mercedes ASP team with Eric Debarbe. So Jim Pla up towards the line, but Bales goes for the pit lane.
So is this going to be a strategy pit stop for the majority of the teams? I would say at the minute we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, like maybe 8 cars out on track. Everybody else is in the pit lane. The cars are being pushed back into the garage in most cases, and that'll be, I suspect, a change of wheels and tyres as we look at the 46 BMW. And there is Valentino running over those curbs, rattling his teeth as he does so. Car currently down in 9th, having been quickest about 10 minutes ago, or less than 10 minutes ago, about 6 minutes ago. So Valentino will be back out on track, out to challenge the provisional front row sitters, Magnus in the Audi and Marcello in the Mercedes.
Bear in mind as well, having said that the championship finishes at Zandvoort, it finishes here for the bronze drivers because of the size of the track, size of the pit lane, and the size of the entry. It has been decided not to run a bronze cup at Brands at the start of the year, nor Zandvoort at the end. So the bronze cup will be decided this weekend. Let's go down to race 2, of course. There you see Conte Lapalainen, who is 4th fastest, possibly having a new set of tyres to go for one last run. But the pit lane has become very, very busy. But we have still got just over 5.5 minutes to go. So maybe they are going to go back out and have one last go.
Undoubtedly, that is the strategy, the ploy of teams in the pit lane. They want to come in. They know that the track is better now than it was when they came in maybe a minute or two ago. And there's the 21, the car that is on provisional pole. Excellent lap by Gilles Magnus, somebody who I consider to be a real star find, particularly this season in GT3, and shows consistency and performance on that 21. Come to you, Audi.
So he waits to be given the signal to go back out. So at the moment it is Gilles Magnus the fastest, 1:30.886, 82 thousandths up on Raffaele Marcello, and now the road is getting busier once more with 4 minutes and 37 seconds on the clock. And bit by bit by bit, the pit lane starts to empty, more and more of them going out onto the circuit. Joel Witz, you saw there. Christian Kleen coming up towards the end of the lap. And 17th he is, comes up past the pits now, goes through, and that puts him second fastest. So Christian Clean, 1 minute 30.948, only 62 thousandths down on Magnus now.
Yes, good effort by Christian Clean, and again indication that you go in, have a stop, come back out again, and you've got fresher, better conditions to deal with. So I wonder how many more have now returned to the track as we see our provisional pole sitter still up on his axle stands, the wheels, yes, been removed. And we've got 3 minutes and 40 seconds. They need to get a bit of a move on here because they want to get out and get a lap, as for the same in the 911 Porsche. So that goes down the pit lane.
And while that's going on track, Christian Clean, who's already second, has done an absolute best in the first sector. That's the Audi of César Gazot, which is in the Gold Cup, 11th overall, but it's Christian Clean's McLaren, which is the one to watch, depending on where the traffic is around the circuit. So Gazot has got cars ahead of him, and it's coming up towards the line. It might be an improvement for him. We'll have a look, because he did do 2 personal bests and goes up to 5th, so that retains second for him within gold. But overall, Christian Clean down in the middle sector. So he's lost a little bit of time in the mid part of the lap, having done the absolute best at the start. Doesn't mean necessarily the lap is a complete dead loss, because he might be able to dig deep and find a fraction of time in the final sector to balance it all out. He comes up towards the line. He was 62 thousandths shy last time. He's gone fastest on that lap. 1 minute 30.781, quicker than anybody by a 10th, with an absolute best in the last sector as well, despite losing a bit in the middle.
Yes, so he pulled it all back as we back to the 32 BMW. Charles Weerts, whereabouts have they fallen to? Down to 20th position. You know, at one point this car was quickest. Now he's got certainly overall quickest in sector 1, but running behind another car. The Lamborghini is not ideal. So that is that's Andrea Caldarelli in the 33. Oh, the number 60, I should say, in 33rd position.
Charles Weerts getting very committed there over the curb. It was looking good with an absolute best and a personal best. Gets past Caldarelli, but how much time has he lost, if any, in that last sector? It looked a bit scrappy, it looked a bit untidy. Has it gone against him? 20th at the start of the lap, comes up towards the timing line now and goes 10th quickest, Charles Weerts. So it was an improvement, 5th row of the grid, but not what he wanted.
No, I think Weerts could rightfully claim that he was interfered with, if you want to put it in those terms, in the mid part of the circuit behind the 60 Lamborghini. Then Caldarelli pulled over to the right to let the BMW go through into turn 14, but not on the ideal line. So a disappointment for Charles Weerts, but Marcello had purple sector 1, but that's now equally been eclipsed by Chavez all the way down to the 30th position in the Garage 59 McLaren. So McLaren's looking very good indeed.
By right, somebody would put Enrique Chavez into an overall, a Pro Cup car next year, wouldn't they? Lucas Leggeret is up to second, having put the Audi to a time 96,000 shy of Christian Clean. More absolute bests are coming now. We've just had one offered up by Thierry Vermeulen. We've had others by the likes of Vishna and Guven all flying as well. So this is going to be very, very interesting at the end. It's kind of throw the numbers up in the air and see what lands.
Yeah, well, Marcello's have landed the right side up. He is now overall quickest with, 40 seconds remaining, 1:30.550. That is the quickest single flying lap that we've seen over the weekend. So that's the first car. Magnus is the second. He's done them on 30.6, so he's just 94 thousandths of a second behind Marcello, and still time in the clock to complete another lap. But Thierry Vermeulen, this is Ferrari here, the 69, there she is down in that middle sector, which will take away any prospect of a challenge for, certainly for provisional front row of the grid.
That lap by Chavez, though, up to 3rd fastest. Here is Vermeulen. Can he do what we'd seen others do? In other words, recover from a bad middle sector? He can. He goes second then. So it's Marcello, Vermeulen, Magnus, Guven, Chavez and Christian Clean down to 6th. The flag is out, so checkered flag shown. So now Dennis Marshall goes to the top with the Audi. 1:30.486, bronze cup car. But again, you put the gold to the platinum drivers with a bronze, and of course they're going to shine. Here, Vermeulen has yet to take the flag, and he's done an absolute best in the first sector.
It ain't done yet. Even though the checkered flag is out, those cars that cross the line before the flag can compete their lap, and as we mentioned at the head of the program, this is the lap that should see the circuit at its ultimate in terms of grip levels and consistency. So there is the 66 Dennis Marshall, provisional pole sitter. A little bit of tension on the face of teammates looking at the times.
Benjamin Goethe at Garage 59 looking on. Andrew Kokodi shaking his head because the Nikolai Sheargard car that was briefly quickest is down to 14th, and he's not yet taken the flag. He's down to 15th as others come through and improve. So Dennis Marshall the fastest from Raffaele Marcello. Thierry Vermeulen is provisionally going to be third because, yes, he's now backed off on this lap, so Vermeulen won't be an improver. Conte Lapalainen and his teammate fourth. Fred Verviche fifth. Gilles Magnus sixth. Ayenchen Guven is currently down to 7th, Chavez down to 8th. So again, where you are, where your last lap is in relation to everybody else, does have quite a big part to play. Interesting that quite a few are coming in at the end of the last lap, not staying out. So our prediction that it was going to be, if you like, last man standing, not quite true for many of the teams because they've done the best on that set of tyres and come in a lap early.
Yes, I mean, ordinarily it would be the final car going across the line, but teams can pick and choose the times that they send their cars out, and if the lap that they recorded their current times on was the best lap in terms of traffic or how busy the circuit might be, well, that might be just to bring the car in, save a set of tyres, an extra lap, and keep that for the race.
What an interesting session and an order, perhaps, that we didn't expect. Dennis Marshall, we know he's good, but taking pole position is quite something. From Raffaele Marcello, then Thierry Vermeulen, and then Conte Lapalainen. So you've got Audi, Mercedes, and Ferrari in the top three.
It's a little bit of a, toss the cards up in the air and see which cards fall down in which order. And I mean, a great session because it's always been a lot of change going on literally by the lap. You remember getting 5 or 6 places change. So if everybody makes their way back into the pit lane, and this is the end of a 20-minute qualifying session. And it was due to be 2 10-minute sessions divided with platinum and gold and then silver and bronze. But because of track conditions, to ensure fairness, it was decided to make just a 20-minute session for everyone, so nobody gains an advantage and equally nobody loses out.
Indeed so. And Valentino Rossi, who was up and down the order, ends up down, I'm afraid, 22nd.
Yes, I'm not quite sure because when the track conditions were trickier, he was shining.
Well, at the end of it all, Dennis Marshall, the fastest by 64 thousandths of a second from Raffaele Marcello, and then Thierry Vermeulen third fastest. Conte Lapalainen fourth from Fred Verviche and Gilles Magnus. The top 10 rounded out by Ayenchen Guven, Enrique Chavez, Christian Klein, and then Ricardo Feller. Now that's a significant one for the championship. Feller only 10th on the grid for today's race. Nikolai Sheargard 11th ahead of Lucas Legere. Then it's Christopher Meese, Nicholas Cruton and Charles Wirtz only 15th. Jim Clark, Jordan Love, Cesar Gazzo, Robert Renau, and then Erwin Bastar round out the top 20. Alex Arca, normally to the 4 in silver, second in class. He's only 21st ahead of Valentino Rossi. Then Alberto Di Folco from Stephen Palette. Christopher Zirkling quite a long way down, but clear of Yuki Nomoto. Then Jeff Machiels from Paul Everard. Sebastian Bode 29th. And Andrea Caldarelli only 30th. There's a story there, perhaps. Thomas Neubauer only 31st from Jacopo Guidetti. Fabian Schiller 33rd from Adrian Delina and Sean Hudspeth. Jesse Salmanatio comes 36th from Baptiste Moulin. Then James Cale and Owen Zanotti round out the 39. The second of the JP Motorsport McLarens having withdrawn. So Dennis Marshall the fastest. Really good effort. But of course, a bronze car might be up there with Dennis Marshall behind the wheel, but when you put the bronze graded driver, its pace will be different. So in terms of the championship situation, Raffaele Marcello, as we know, always a good qualifier, and he takes an extra point for being fastest in class. He comes here with Timo Boguslavski being 63.5 points, that total against the 54 of Matteo Drudi. At that qualifying point, he's stretched it a little bit more. So the pressure is on the Audi to try and fight back in the course of the race. In bronze, and it is the last bronze round of the year, Dennis Marshall and Andre Mukovoz come here 5th. And Dennis Marshall having done a great job taking pole position.
Yes, joy in the team, and a good job indeed by Dennis Marshall. So the team will be delighted, and it's, I was going to say, a bit of an Audi lockout. Top 6 positions, 3 of them held by Audis, only Marcello and the Mercedes AMG GT3, and then the 2 Ferrari 296s making up the rest of the top 6.
So there is Dennis Marshall, the fastest driver in Q1. Helmet off, and let's have a word with him. Down in the pit lane is Gemma Scott.
Dennis, congratulations. There is your hat for getting that pole position. What a last-minute dash.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, this morning everything was changed because we were supposed to drive in 2 groups. Now 1 group, which made it a bit more difficult, especially with the damp track on the beginning. We just managed it in the last lap. I was a bit afraid to not have the right lap because I was the first one who crossed the finish line and the track was getting better and better. And I had to wait basically 1.5 minutes until my engineer could say, yeah, that you're in pole position.
Well, the celebration down here was epic. The screens and the cheers, I think everyone's over the moon. What a great start to the weekend.
Yeah, fabulous. I'm over the moon. This means a lot to me.
Congratulations, well done.
Excellent drive then by Dennis Marshall, and we'll see what he can do in his stint in the race. So the race this afternoon, as ever, 1 hour. We'll be on air at 1:45 local time. And it should, as I say, be a very interesting one with this jumbled grid. Let's just have a quick look back at what happened in that session with early drivers heading onto a damp track, such as Christian Clean. But the road drive pretty rapidly, and the circuits got busy as well with Valentino Rossi being able to do an early time that put him top. But like many, he was also a victim of track limit penalties. So lap times came and went, and it wasn't just about being quick, it was about being neat and tidy and staying within the regulations as well with the white lines. Nicolas Schiergaard had looked good, Enrico Chambers had looked good, Gilles Magnus was looking quick. Dennis Marshall, who came through to be with Mercedes and Ferrari snapping at his heels. It's looking good for a very competitive first race. Valencia Marcello then will be second on the grid, increasing his lead in the championship by a point for class pole position. Dennis Marshall will start today's race from pole, and it should be a thriller. We'll see you later on for race 1 of the weekend from Valencia.